I just want to share a little story with you all. It's kind of part of my testimony, and it's just to let you know how some of the ways are that how God operates. Like, I know we may think at times that God is not using us, and He may be using us unknowingly in some kind of way. So it's like we're always doing something for the Lord, even though we may not realize we're doing something that we're always on an assignment of some sort, okay? And let me just share one that I've had, one assignment in particular that I was unknowingly doing something for the Lord. Well, in 2011, this is also just like part of my testimony as well. In the fall of 2011, I made a move away from the state I was living in. Had a lot of bad memories there, and so I moved to where I am now. And it's like a 4-hour drive away. It's just one state away. I just needed a change in my life, and I know that the Lord had His hand in it. I mean, I didn't immediately know, but I understand now that the Lord made that happen, that move, because He needed me to get here where I am now, to get me here where I am now with the Lord, because I was not in this place with the Lord in 2011 that I am now. Okay, so another thing is I was single. I had been divorced since the late part of 99, when my first husband left me for another woman, and it was a bad marriage for 10 years. I was very unhappy the whole time, and so anyway, I'm not getting into that about him, but I stayed, I didn't marry anybody else for several years, and I had no intentions of getting married. And so in 2011, there was a guy who had been chasing me for a while on a dating website, and I was kind of I had just been ignoring him, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had been sending me messages, and I was just ignoring those messages. And it wasn't because of, maybe that I was not attracted to him or anything. I just wasn't looking for anybody at the time. And so, anyway, so it turned out that we found out about each other, things about each other that we had in common. Like, we were both from the same town in the state that I'm from, yet we were both living in separate states from that town. Like, I was living here, and he was actually in Florida, which is pretty far from where I am now. And so, anyway, so we ended up just completely falling in love with each other. It just happened so quickly, and we knew that it was God. We just knew that it was God. God had His hand in that. And so we immediately got together, and we got married just 7 months later. We were just inseparable. We could not be apart. We had to be together. And it was crazy that the Lord gave me a dream right after we got married, May 11th, 2012. We met on my birthday, which is October 21st, and it was 2011 when we met. It was my 41st birthday, and I met him on that day. It was so cool. Like, we met in person. Like, we had been talking for 6 weeks. And so this will also help encourage some of you that are waiting for love, and you think that God has just forgotten about you. This will help you. Even though it's kind of a sad ending to my story, doesn't mean it's going to be a sad ending to yours. So anyway, so Mark and I got married on May 11th, 2012. We had a nice little church wedding on the river. It was pretty and inexpensive, because neither of us really had much money. We were just in love. We didn't have a lot, but we had love. And I was just in a place where I was had been away from the Lord, and I was just beginning to get in a place after moving here where I could focus, because I had gotten away from people that were keeping me away from the Lord. You know, people that kept me going to the bars, that wanted to drag me out on the weekends and stuff. I had completely gotten away from that whole lifestyle when I moved here. And that was part of the plan. You know, that was what God wanted, to get me away from people. And I had been praying for years that He would. And He did. Well, so anyway, so the dream that I had right after Mark and I got married. So, first off, when I was a teenager, you know, in that same town where he and I were actually, we found out we were both from the same town. It was just had so much in common. Just so many strange coincidences. Well, in the town I was from, I worked in high school. I worked at an Arby's restaurant. You know, it's roast beef, Arby's roast beef restaurant. And so I always worked the drive-through, and there was this guy that used to come through the drive-through all the time, and I was just googly over him, just like, oh my God. You know, I was like 17, 18 years old, and I was infatuated with this guy. And he was just so handsome, but he was quiet. He would come through the drive-through, and he never would talk. He would just smile at me and get his food, and that was it until next time he came through. So I never spoke to him, never did. And I would literally, in my prayers, I would say, Lord, give me that guy. When I was a teenager, and that was the kind of prayers I had. And so I ended up meeting someone else and marrying that person. That's the one that was the first husband that was not meant for me at all. God made that clear the very night I met him, that he was not the one. And so anyway, so I had literally, during that 10 years of marriage, had forgotten about the guy that used to come through the drive-through all the time, that I was infatuated with. I had forgotten about him, you know. It just happened. Just life took over and just took over. And so anyway, and changed course and all. So the dream, right after Mark and I got married, that was my second husband's name was Mark. Anyway, so in this dream, I'm literally the teenager and working at the drive-through, and it was a short dream where I'm open the drive-through window and I hand this guy his food, and it was Mark. The guy from my past that I was infatuated with was the one that God gave me in 2011 that I married. We lived several hours apart, driving distance, hundreds of miles apart. We did not know that's who we were until God gave me that dream right after we got married in May of 2012. Well, Mark and we started going to church immediately as soon as he came here to live, because he came here to live where I am. Obviously we were together, so, but we weren't in the same state when we met online on the dating website. So anyway, this is the thing. Mark was not saved when we met. Mark had a problem. He was an alcoholic. He had other issues. I had issues too, okay? I'm not saying I was perfect, because I certainly wasn't. God can use anybody in any place that you're at in your life. If you are struggling with things, God can still use you for His own purposes. So this is the thing. So I helped lead Mark to the Lord, and I also did deliverance on him and cast a demon out of him one day of alcoholism. And he literally started getting sick, and his health started declining quickly then at that point. Within a year after we got married, he was to a point where he was like a little child. He was stuttering, and he couldn't remember things. He couldn't do simple things like tie his shoes, dress himself. And we found out that Mark had dementia. He was only like 45 years old. And it was heartbreaking. So here I am thinking, oh, my life is just beginning, you know. God has given me a gift, and I'm so happy about it. You know, we know God gives and God takes away. So, you know, that was just the reality of things. And Mark ended up dying on January the 12th of 2015. So I literally only had him for like 3 years and 3 or 4 months total from the time we met in person. But I understood after he died that I understood he was a gift from God. God gave me the guy that I asked for. I asked for him, and he gave him to me at the end of his life. But he was an assignment, an important assignment. Because Mark was lost when I met him. And on his way to hell. But God redeemed him. Jesus saved him. He does this last minute deal before people die. I know that there's instances where people do die without being saved, of course. We know this. But he will save somebody like Mark before Mark got to a place mentally where he could not understand salvation and know who Jesus was and stuff. But he got saved before his mental decline. So what I'm here to tell you is that I was being used by God unknowingly. I had no idea that at the time that God was using me to bring this person to salvation. And I had a vision of him a few years ago in heaven, and he's a young man, like 16 years old, and he does not remember this life. He does not remember me. He does not remember the 2 children he had with 2 other women before me, you know, long time ago. These are grown women they're his 2 daughters. He does not remember them. He does not remember me. In the vision I saw of him in heaven, he was with his mother, his mother died. Both his parents died when he was young, when he was a teenager. And so he was reunited with his family in heaven. And I mean, that's a beautiful, glorious thing. And I'm just happy that God used me, even though I wasn't even in a place in my life where I was really serving the Lord. You know, I was lost at the time myself. But, you know, God took Mark away, and he literally took my dad a month before Mark died. Literally, it was such a tragic time. My dad literally died a month before my husband of the flu. And so God got me alone, and that's when he started working on me and brought me back to him. So I'm in a good place with the Lord now, I feel like. But I just wanted to encourage you today that you may think the Lord can't use you or isn't using you, and he may literally be using you unknowingly. Like, you could be doing something very important for the Lord and not even know it. So I just want to share that. So be encouraged by that. And also the fact that he's not forgotten you. You know, if you're looking for love, don't go looking for love in all the wrong places. Don't go out and hunt your own person. God will send that perfect mate to you. I'm not saying that you're going to meet somebody and they're going to die, you know, within 3 years like mine did. You know, that's not always the case. But that was my case. You know, it was in my situation. But anyway, I am here to tell you that I had prayed and asked for that person, specifically that person, and God gave me specifically that person that I asked for. So anyway, God is good, and all his ways are perfect, and we don't understand his ways, and that's the truth. But anyway, God bless you, and have a blessed day.